What is up, everybody? It is Mike and Ryan here with you with Walk It Off Sports for a recap of a heavy fist punching battle at Jordan Hare Stadium when the Dogs went in there and took on the War Eagles, Tigers, whatever they're called. Ryan, how are you feeling, man?
Oh boy, I tell you, night and day from that first half to the second half. We knew it was going to be a fight. We knew going in there that atmosphere, what it meant and what it could do to the team. But tell you what, as soon as they marched right down and got a touchdown, took up what 7 8 minutes on that drive. I told myself, here we go again, and I was right. And I I wanted to turn it off, but I can't. It's like a crash. You can't look away. You know what I mean? like a train wreck. You can't look away. But boy, you tell yourself because you're a fan that well, it's only 10-0. And then they start driving again, and it's like if we go down three scores, then this place is going to be a madhouse. And it's much happier sitting on this side of the outcome than I would have been if I was Auburn. But we can dive a little bit deeper into that. But you know, as far as comparing how I feel about the team now as opposed to like before the game, I don't think any differently, which still kind of worries me a little bit. But we can touch on that a little bit more. Obviously, happy to get the win. We got the cover, like predicted. We did get the cover. We didn't get the over. A little bit lower scoring than I thought, but I didn't know that our defense first they're off pretty much the whole game. They kind of did that years.
Yeah, and we're gonna dive into to the offense, to the defense. Ryan's the quiet one as part of our duo here on Walk It Off Sports, and I'm as you guys can tell, I guess I might show it a little bit. Ryan's a little feisty too, and I think that's going to come out throughout the year. But hey, before we get into the details of it, if you're new around here, please like, subscribe, follow our channel on YouTube and on TikTok. Um, Share it out. Obviously, we're a new and upcoming channel here, and we're just two couch coaches that are fanatics, and we not I'm not an X's and O's guys, but I can see, and we're just having fun with it, and during the games, or if we're not watching it together, me and Ryan, we're constantly just it's back and forth talking about the game via text, throughout the game. So we just said, hell with it. Let's start a channel and see what happens. But yeah, so
We're
give us a
0-2, 0-2 watching games together, so I don't know how much we watch together.
yeah, that's
That
true.
might
That's true. That's
be all it is.
yeah,
But I'm over in the Jacksonville. I don't think I'm ever going back there for that game. So
yeah, yeah. I'm very superstitious, and the last two games we watched together were 0-2, and funny enough, it's both been against you know the one we can't beat, which is Bama. But nonetheless,
yeah,
Georgia goes into Jordan Hare. The witchcraft they have on that football stadium, the crazy things that you've seen in that stadium um, over the years, and I'll be honest with you, to whether it was 3-0, 6-0, 30-0, 30-10, whatever it was. I'm happy that we came out of there with a win. Um, so, let's talk about the first half, Ryan. Like, you know, obviously the offense, credit to Auburn's defense. I mean, here, let me backtrack. I think that their Super Bowl pep talk moment. Um, I mean, they were ready for this game. They had this
Yeah.
game circled. They were amped up. They were retiring Cam Newton's jersey, um, and it showed. I mean, it obviously showed, and they have some great defensive players. Um, and we'll dive into that, and then other things. But um, first half was atrocious.
Boy, yeah. I mean, we had two drives, 3 and outs. I think he only got 6 total yards on those drives, and then really, I think we only have 4 drives total, and one of them was that one right there at the end, the 12 March, where we finally hit the field goal to get on the board. But yeah, like you said, man, that defense for Auburn, man, I knew, coming into it, just seeing, some of the guys' stats, the Crawford guy and the Falk, those ends. I knew they were legit. I knew they could get after it. But man, I felt like Auburn was flying around, all 11 guys, all night, and not even just that first half. But they were hitting, and they were. I mean, it got them in trouble, once or twice. But we'll take it. Kind of reminded me of old Aaron Murray taking those shots like he did back in the day. Yeah,
Against
but
Fairleigh,
I'm glad.
Fairleigh hitting him.
Yep, I was kind of actually a little worried that Gunner might have gotten a concussion that one time on the targeting call where his head bounced off the turf there, and then it seemed like the next two passes he threw were well, they were way off target, and like he was throwing them probably about 50 miles an hour faster than he normally throws a football. I was like, what is going on here? I was like, I don't know if he quite knows what's going on, but yeah, man, that Auburn defense was no joke. And I mean, I mean, they had gone on the road. They were battle tested at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, because they faced a healthy Mateer. I think that's the game that Mateer got hurt in, and they only
Yeah.
lost both those games by, and we all know the Oklahoma game. I mean, kind of got hosed on that one, and there's some Auburn fans that are kind of feeling that same way again today. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I hate to break it to them, it's not the same issues. But really, I mean, touching on, as I mentioned, the penalties. I mean, you go look and all their games, just like in this, 11 of them for the game compared to our 6. It was they kind of a little bit like us against Alabama. It's almost like they take one step forward and then like 2 or 3 steps. Defense first half was lights out, and conversely, that Georgia defense was scrambling, looking for answers, and that's kind of been the case all year, at least the last 3 weeks. I mean, even in that Kentucky game, that 7 points that they missed the field goal right there, before they were kind of moving it on us a little bit. I mean, not saying you should shut those guys out, but they made it look a little easy on us a couple of times, and that's kind of been our Achilles heel, kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, one half and the other. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I was coming away from that game, at the first half, credit to that Auburn defense. I mean, it was hornet's nest, and they were swarming. And, we knew how it could be. 23, the game was tight. We had to have Brock Bowers save us in the second. We didn't have Brock here, but
Yeah. Um, I've been beating this drum for 2 years. Um, and look, at the end of the day, it, to me, do I think we can miss on a couple players here and there with recruiting and that sort of thing? Yes, and transfer portal, yes. But at the end of the day, Glenn Schumann is not the same person without Will Muschamp, and for me, um, that's my biggest takeaway out of this game. Again, we had talked um, after the Tennessee game, like, hey, Schumann's going to have to show something against this Bama team, and he didn't. And the first half, I mean, players not in the right plays, eye discipline, just you know, like I said, I'm not an X's and O guy, but he looks lost. And
Yeah,
then you come out
and
second half. Go ahead.
they showed him a lot on the sideline, which I thought was funny. The camera panned over to shoot a lot on the sideline while the defense was on the field. I mean, I felt like it was a little bit more than normal, almost like they know his seat's warming up a little bit. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that he looked stressed or anything, but and I don't know, maybe it's just his demeanor and his affect, but a lot of the times when they flipped it over there too, on the plays, it almost looked like he was a little unsure of like either like I don't know if I'm you know calling the right play here or if this is going to work or if I have the right personnel or what. But I don't know. Like I said, it was a little strange to me. That was one thing I noticed. They just kept panning over there to him a lot more than they typically do.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I said, I mean, it's what I struggle with believing is that it's a talent issue. And the reason why I say that is because we then come out in the second half and it's completely reversed, right? You have, you know, Johnson flying around the field, CJ Allen, which was just an absolute beast last night, like just flying around that field, making plays. Raylan Wilson making plays. Um, CJ Allen got that sack, and Ryan texts me like, "Hey, what did I just watch?" Right? So it's almost like, you know, how how was that possible? Like there's definitely an issue somewhere along the line.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like it was like he was shot out of a cannon on that stack, and it's like, why aren't we trying that more often? I mean, it's almost like looking for maybe mixing up maybe some cornerback blitzes or whatever, or maybe stunts, that kind of thing. And I just don't feel like I saw very little of that. And it's like, well, we know that we obviously can get there, but why are we not more on those guys?
Yeah,
I mean, they, they're they can show you that, like you said, J. Allen took over that. All it takes is just cutting them loose a little bit. It's almost like they're worried too much about the back end deficiencies, um, and so they try to maybe drop those guys back coverage more or whatever the case may be. Um, but really, I mean, Auburn really didn't even, as far as like the back end. Auburn kind of surprised me with the lack of shots that they took. I mean, Coleman ended up with 7 catches on the game, but it was only for like 40 something yards. I think
yeah,
the only shot I really remember them taking was Singleton. He was open. I mean, it was wide open down the middle. Arnold overthrew him just off the fingertip. But yeah, I mean, the, that, I think that might have been 13-10 when that happened. When we had just gone up 13-10. just barely missed that because that would have been six. And I almost was wondering if Trey Matthews and Josh Harvey might magically appear on the field and tip the ball up in the air for Singleton to run up under and take to that. But I'm glad that didn't happen, obviously.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I wouldn't want to relive that nightmare again. Um,
exactly, yeah.
but yes,
I,
so when you go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was surprised at the lack of shots that they took against that secondary. Honestly,
Yeah, yeah, and we'll dive into some of the stats here. I mean, Jackson Arnold was 19 of 31, only for 137 yards, which was 4.4 yards, average QBR 52. And we knew coming into this game that their offense was trash. Like, I mean, they had no offense. Um, but back to Glenn Schumann, it's like Auburn, within their first drive of the game, converted more third downs than they had previous over their first two SEC matches. And
yeah,
to me, that's shocking. And we're not going to sit here and recap the whole thing. I mean, I made my feelings known that I think Glenn Schumann needs to be shown the door. Um, will it happen? Probably not. But
nah,
Kirby is Kirby has got to get him some help. Um,
mm-hmm.
to help him because it's a night and day difference when Will Muschamp was on that sideline with his glasses down like my grandpa, and it was almost like Will Muschamp was coaching the DBs and Glenn Schumann had the front part of the defense, if that makes sense. And you know, and now it's just like, hell, what's going on? Like, first half, it's just crazy. And so we're not going to sit there and hash that. I think everybody knows how I feel about that. Their leading receiver was Cam Coleman. He had 7 receptions, 50 yards. So, um, he had what, seven average. He averaged seven. Um, Surprisingly, we were able to hold Singleton, which obviously he played for Georgia Tech last year, and he torched us bad, buddy. Um,
Well,
but
and
nonetheless, go ahead.
they gave him the first two touches of the game. It was a
Yeah, the little
handoff was
sweep.
the first. And the next play was a pass to him. So I said, "Oh yeah, here we go. They're about to beat him all night." But yeah, he ended up with 5 total touches, like 20 something yards, and I mean, I was like, they saved us there. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I really think the combination of him and Arnold and Coleman. I mean, there's no reason why that team shouldn't be scoring at least 20 points a game, 24 points a game. On pretty much anybody. Honestly, with just the threat of the run, and I mean that Jeremiah Cobb, at running back. I mean, another piece there that you know, it's just strange to me because I mean I don't know, and you kind of going back a little bit to the you kind of assume coming into the game that maybe their offensive line was just not really good, but then we really didn't take advantage of it, and it's like, well, maybe some of the onus goes on our defensive line coach Trey Scott. I'm like, what's going on there? I mean, because you could hang your hat on a little bit so far along the year that our run defense was elite, but then in that first half, I mean, we gave up about 130 rushing yards in that first half. I know we figured some things out in the second half and limited them to like 10 rushing yards, but man, that was, I mean, they were having their way with the
I mean, it was hey, just pick whatever play you want to run, and it's going to be successful. Um, and the one thing the Georgia defense struggles with and has struggled with all year is a running quarterback. I mean, Jackson Arnold. Now, keep in mind, everybody, this is all in the first half. But I mean, Jackson Arnold was their leading rusher with 55 yards. His longest rush was a 27-yard run. So, why it's just mind blowing to me that all of a sudden that same talent that's still on the field the first half is in the second half and it's a complete shutout. Happened against Alabama. Happened against Auburn. Obviously, Tennessee. I think obviously Joey is a really good quarterback, and I mean he just um,
Yeah.
jumping over kind of here's my thing. I got two MVPs, and I want to hear who your MVP is. One from our defense and one from our offense. Um, but you know, 4 for 37. I think he had 220 yards, I believe. Um, so he had a QBR of 84. I'm gonna tell you this, Gunner, beautiful deep ball. I think the one that Kobe, I think he kind of just like mistimed the jump. That was a beautiful ball. Um, and the one to Noah Thomas was, man, I'm so glad to see Noah Thomas get a catch finally. Something held up long enough for him to be involved, and he's a threat for sure too. We got to find a way to get him more involved in the game. But the thing with that is, it's like, okay, you got Kobe Young and Noah Thomas who both play the same position. So when Kobe, Noah's not, and vice versa, and it just seems like every time that Kobe's in, the play, holds up, the line blocks or whatever it may be. But he is Gunner Stockton. Um, the third downs conversions that he made, the fourth down conversions that he made, the throws. I mean, just that one throw to Zachariah on that drive. It was kind of, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of a back. Well, it wasn't even a back shoulder. It was a little out or whatever, and it was just right on the money where Zachariah, he's the only one that could get to it. But and then the shots that man took and just got back up and just kept.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, you kind of stole my pick a little bit, but I will add on to that and say now this I won't call him the MVP of the game, but he's going to get an honorable mention a little bit because in near the end when it was 13-10 and we're driving the long drive there to end the game and eventually score the last touchdown. Two huge plays, 3rd and 8 pass to London Humphreys for a first down. And then I think a couple of maybe, they maybe got another first down, and then 4th and 2 or 3, another pass to London Humphreys for another first down to keep that drive going. His only 2 catches of the game, both of them that last drive, both of them for first downs to keep it going. So that was huge. But really, I'll say my MVP, my offense MVP was Branch. I mean, he was just money. He had 9 catches. I don't know if I don't know how many drops he had, but if he had any drops or just might have missed some on some targets, but he, whenever you needed, you know, and he's like an extension of the run game for us. Really, they get those quick outs to him. And I mean, if you're a wide receiver at the University of Georgia, if you're not blocking, you're not playing. And those guys out there on the edge blocking for him, and he just scoots down the sideline and turns a pass into 8, 9, 10 yard gain in no time. So Branch would be my pick.
Credit to Dylan Bell, Kobe Young, Noah Thomas. I mean, all those guys just blocking. Um, and, I'll even go as far as saying McCray. I mean, when we were backed up after the fumble,
Yeah,
which, hey, we're realist fans and we're going to talk about this. We're not shying away from it. And it was what, 3rd and 8, and then he ran that ball out for 12 yards or somewhere along those lines. Got us that first down. But, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the offensive weapons we have are elite, and it's not so for
no,
all of you Georgia haters that that constantly call for Bobo's job when he throws a bubble screen, which every team in the country does, and you have a player as dynamic as Zachariah Branch, who he's in motion or he's on the field, them linebackers, the everybody's it they're like, what's going to happen? When's he going to get the ball? And that just helps everything else, right? Like that helps the run game and the downfield passing and that sort of thing. So, um,
It
it's
up.
not Mike Bubba.
Nope.
Yeah, yeah.
Nope.
Georgia fans, news to you. Before this game, he was averaging 35.6 yards. That's what Georgia offense averaged, 35.6. Now, do we want it to be 42, 45, 55? Yeah, absolutely. But um, he's not the issue. Okay, if you want to
You still good, Mike?
though, but it's all good. You just keep you just
There we go.
you got it. I'm gonna remove you and then I'm gonna bring you back in.
I can't hear you, buddy. I see you.
A little bit of a technical difficulty. Hey, we're not sitting here saying that we're tech people by any means. So, um, but yeah, Georgia fans, it's not my Bubba. If you want to point fingers and call for somebody to be let go, defensive side of the ball, and you know, and the offensive line, which credit to Stacy Searles. I mean, he's doing better. I mean, that makeshift offense and all the injuries and that sort of thing. He's doing better. So, um, see what's going on with this. But hey, look, like I said, we're realists here. We're not going to shy away from the calls. We're not going to shy away that what was and wasn't a fumble or was it a timeout or not a timeout. Um, we're go with you, and we're gonna call it like it is. And that's kind of
I'm here. You got me?
I got you now. So I was just telling everybody, it's not Mike Bobo, and I also told them that we're not tech wizards either. So, um, you know,
Difficult. It's the first string, baby. It's gonna happen.
first
The first.
one, and hey, we ain't gonna be doing no edits. We're gonna post it like it is because that's just who we
Yeah.
are. So, but I was just telling everybody, if you want to point fingers and call for people's job, you might want to look on the defensive side of the ball
Yeah.
because that's clearly the issue. But nonetheless, let's get into these controversial calls before we head out for tonight. I know me and Ryan had talked about this a couple times too, but you know, for me, it Arnold obviously was diving forward, and what the commentators on TV just blatantly not saying this. Um,
Yep. I'm here, buddy. You got me?
I just can't see you, but that's okay. Um, to me, it was you before Raylan Wilson even touched the ball. You could see C.J. Allen punch that ball moved, and it was like
Mhm.
just fine. And then Raylan comes in and punches it out again. So for me, that was a fumble. I mean, I think that if they would have called it a touchdown, I believe it would have stood as a touchdown. But
Yeah.
it just wasn't undisputed evidence that it was or wasn't a fumble. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's one thing that, and I mean, again, we all know that fan is short for fanatic, right? So, I mean, of course, Auburn fans they kind of fail to kind of remember, you got to have the way that the call was called on the field. There's got to be indisputable evidence, right, to overturn it, right? And it was called a fumble on the field. So one thing that's kind of circulating around, like on Twitter today, or Auburn, and even Alabama fans, which is it's funny to me how Alabama's fans are jumping to the defense of Auburn today, but is pictures of the play frozen right before Jackson Arnold is trying to get the ball over the goal line, and there's a little red line going from the front edge of the goal line, up to the sky, and it's right there at his hand. Well, in that picture, you can very clearly see, I believe it's C.J. Allen's arm at the time in there punching the ball out. So the refs obviously see all of those. They can stop it way more than we can, frame by frame. And so they obviously, well, they first of all, they called it a fumble on the field, and then they see his hand in there. So obviously, with his hand in there, the ball is being jarred loose. So he does not have possession anymore once that ball is jarred loose. And so, yeah, in my mind, and again, I'm a Georgia fan, so I mean, there's definitely not indisputable evidence that it wasn't a fumble, because it was a fumble. And honestly, the play should not have been blown dead. It's still live. Jones was
Yep.
never down, ran it in. So really, they're kind of lucky it wasn't 10-7 at halftime, because that's honestly what it should have been. Because obviously, I guess some ref claim to see him down, but the replay clearly shows his back was never off of that pile, and his knee was never down, and he got up, and I don't remember who it was that told him to run. Kirby was one of them, told him to run, and he went down, got in the end zone. So really should have been 10-7. But just, I mean, they practice it. That was a big focus, I think, for the Kentucky week, was trying to, punch the ball out a little bit more. It worked for C.J. Allen again in that Kentucky game. He's one who forced the fumble in that game. And they've made it a big focus, and it certainly turned the tide in that game for sure. And I mean, I understand fans, that you're not going to convince them. Otherwise, they're not an Auburn fan on the planet. Uh, I'll take that back. There's some that are logical, I'm sure, but but it still stings right now. They're not going to change their mind yet. Maybe in a few weeks they'll come to their senses. But it was 100% a fumble, and it should have been 7 for Georgia. But luckily, we were able to convert it to 3 at least.
And let's talk about the one that the memes are going around on the internet, and I tell you what, they're funny as hell. Um, and the more and more I watch it, I'm like, okay, he gets out of the coaching business, he can be a salesman.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Oh yeah.
but he did. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, he did. But at the end of the day, I think any coach in that situation clearly, I mean, hey, shit, I messed up. I shouldn't have tried to call a timeout or whatever the situation was. And you're going to try to, right? But that's not even the big picture here. The big picture, Auburn fans, we scored no points on that drive. We
0.
scored zero points on that drive. We ended the game. Guess what we had left? A timeout. So
Yep.
out and they gave it to us, the play clock restarts anyways, right? So that had no effect on the game whatsoever. That didn't give Georgia any points. It didn't give them advantage. You know, it
Exactly.
it is what it is, right? It was a missed call, and I'll be honest with you, Ryan. The refs are just terrible at their job. Um,
Yeah. I
they
mean, the problem is, like, well, there's many problems, but like this isn't this isn't their only job, right? Those guys are lawyers or whatever, and then they're getting on a plane, and flying to these cities, probably like the day before, and they obviously don't know all the rules. I mean, they know most of them. They know them better than most people, but I mean, these guys, the money that is on the line in college football, I mean, it's a big business, and to not have like permanent like refs is crazy, and they've got to figure something out about that. I mean, I know the off season's longer than the actual season, but you guys, can be training them up. I don't know, keeping them in shape. I don't know what the answer is. Obviously, that's not for me to decide, but the fact that this isn't these guys' your primary job, and so I mean they're human. The human element is always going to be there as long as you're putting a body out there to call, make calls, but and the thing is about that play, I mean, they originally granted the timeout, right? They didn't have to take it away. It didn't matter what Kirby was saying. They didn't have to take it away. They could have said, "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying. Here's your timeout. You don't get a delay game penalty now, because you have the timeout." Um, but video shows that he wasn't lying about the safety that was clapping, which should be a penalty. I don't know if you've seen that. The safety for Auburn was clapping. And so, whether or not he was really, trying to say that all along, or if he just, you know, was, hey, let's get a timeout. And then he saw it and he's like, oh no, I'll just lie and say that's, who knows. But that's pretty quick, quick on your feet thinking there from Kirby if that was the case. But I mean, the safety was clapping, which, is trying to, emulate the snap count and stuff like that, which, could have been a penalty called on Auburn, which wasn't. So, um, but again, zero effect on the game. We scored 0 points. It didn't affect anything in the long run. They're just looking for things to cry and complain about. So, but but
And it's not even the whole in general. It's the Oklahoma Auburn game. It's they insert whatever game you want to insert, and there's always a controversial call that you know the refs, like Ryan mentioned, this is their backup money job basically. And for me, and I'm sure the NCAA would find a way to mess it up, but there needs, there I think there needs to be full time referees, and whether that's like Ryan said, we're not here to try to figure that out, but like there needs to be training, on the field training, classroom training, something. But you
yep,
know, look at the blindside block. They where they called Cash on the blindside block. Cash Jones was looking the man dead in the eyes. He was right
yep,
in front of him. And
yep,
granted, Cash Jones shouldn't have put himself in that situation because him blocking that guy didn't do the play, which got to
yeah,
Kobe Young, which got him to the 1 yard line, 2 yard line, whatever it was. You know what I mean? But that was a missed call. I mean, that wasn't a blindside block, but um, that's all I really got to say about that. I mean, the refs, they're like you said. I mean, it's almost like going and getting a pee wee referee or a rec ball referee who just got off his 9 to 5 and he's coming out there to referee a rec baseball game, right? Like it's not his full time job.
and the difference is this is big time money you're talking about, and I'm not just talking about like the people that are putting money on these games. I mean that's part of it. I mean, but I mean, these coaches. I mean, Kirby's making 30 million. I mean, these are a lot of people's livelihood. And these guys just they're not up to the par that they need to be on a consistent basis. And the replay can only do so much because, like you said, it's you know based on the call that was made on the field. And if there's not substantial evidence to overturn it, then they can't overturn. I don't know, but do they have? I have a question. Do they have? So like now in the NFL, how you sometimes have to review things, right? They have the automatic review basically now. Sometimes that they'll just call down, like they'll say, oh, that was a catch, and then I don't know what they call it, but then like before the next play goes off, the ref will stop the play and be like, automatic review is actually saying that that was incomplete. Is that in college too, or is that just in the NFL right now?
Not 100% sure, and you guys can let us know in the comments. But I think there is something similar to that. Um, I would tell you what I would like to see, and I'm pretty sure it's the ACC that does it, where they actually go live. I don't know if you've seen this, but when they're reviewing a play, they go live in wherever the main
Yeah,
place that and they actually you can hear them talking about it and it lets the fans see a different aspect of the game too. um I wish
yeah,
the SEC
I had
would
seen.
do something like that.
Yeah, I had seen that. I like that too. No, that's you get to hear that conversation because before that, it's almost just like, yeah, say, yeah, I'm going to go over here and review it, wink, wink, and then it's like, what's really being discussed?
Well, um Dogs going to Jordan Hare, win 20-10, 5-1 on the season. uh Big test, another top 10 matchup coming into to Athens this weekend coming up, which we'll dive into on our Wednesday show to get it out to you guys. Um, our preview and prediction of the Ole Miss versus on Saturday at 3:30. What's your final thoughts?
you know, as I said, kind of to start the video, my feelings on this team are unfortunately kind of still the same. And Auburn again. They gave us their best fight, right? They you know traded blows with us all throughout the game. Really, that defense was stout, and we had our struggles on offense, and the defensive struggles are well documented. Um, so, kind of looking ahead, right? Like you said, we got game day coming into Athens this Saturday for Ole Miss, top 5 team, and that's not the only thing we have down the line. Florida's defense is tough. They've always got a defense, and you got to go to Mississippi State. And I know that's not the toughest place on earth to play, but you're going to Mississippi State the week before you play Texas, and Texas is sitting at home on a bye while we're at Mississippi State. So that just adds a little element of difficulty, rest and recuperation that we're not getting the get that Texas is, and then Georgia Tech. So I mean, we're at a point now where almost is it's almost necessary to go undefeated in the SEC, and you're talking the likes of Ole Miss and Texas, and then you got Mississippi State and Florida to throw in there. Those games, rivalry games, you throw everything out the window. That Florida game is going to be tough. It's always close, and so and the reason why I say that is because I really think that if Tech stays healthy, that that's not going to go our way. I just have a bad feeling about that Tech game. So we really can't take another L in the SEC. And so I mean I don't want to discredit Charlotte, but I'm kind of counting that one as a W.
Well, I
But
would hope so.
right. But my final thoughts are, I mean, obviously, again, yeah, to get that win, being the way that game started, that was it was unbelievable. I think I probably texted you that. I texted somebody, and I was like, I can't even explain this game as it was going on, just night and day. And I mean, we seen a little bit of that in the Alabama game, but it wasn't to that extent. So we got to come out. I mean, I think we're starting out as a 6.5 point favorite against Ole Miss, which is a little surprising. Um,
Early line.
yeah, but if we can, I think if we can play 3 quarters this week coming up, like we do the last 2 quarters of every game, then we can go toe to toe with anybody. But that's what you are talking about, though. It's not a talent issue. It's it's X's and O's. It's not the Jimmys and the Joes. It's the X's and the O's. So, yeah, gonna be nervous. I still don't really know which way I'm leaning yet on my prediction for Saturday. Sleep on that a few nights, but it's going to be real nervy. I may just have you text me and let me know when the second half starts on Saturday.
Yeah, not
Watch,
watched the first half.
yeah, so, some
Um,
think.
I'll leave you guys with this. 9 in a row.
Yes, sir.
Um, 100% sure that Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs have broken Hugh Freeze. Um, Press conference was pitiful. I mean, that man he was in shambles. He was in shambles.
You can see it
Um,
too. He didn't. I said you could see it on the sideline too. He couldn't believe it.
Broken. So for anybody else that's got to play Auburn, you're welcome.
Yeah, right.
Um, we just took them out. But hey, thank you guys for watching. And like I said, we'll be back Wednesday night to preview the Ole Miss game and give our preview and prediction of that game. Early line is 6.5, which is, like Ryan said, kind of shocking. Um, I mean, if you're a betting type person right now, you'd probably take Ole Miss and the points, because I don't think this is going to be some kind of shootout. At least for our defensive sake, we don't need a shootout. But we'll dive into that on Wednesday. Um, hey, but all I'm gonna say is 9 in a row.
Yes, sir. Go Dogs, baby.